1774, Ohio country. And this is just the top of the book, so I don't think, hopefully it doesn't need too much explanation. Whatever it was they were going to find, whatever it was they would one day be, waited for them below the ice. Tecumseh and his two brothers stood naked, shivering on the riverbank. They huddled together for warmth. Up before dawn, their father had marched them to where Macy's Creek fed the Little Miami River, reminding them the entire way how much had changed since he was a boy. Maybe my sons wear trousers and linsey shirts, like white children, he said, but some things remain the same. Now you're 6 years old, you need to find your Powaka tokens, as I did long ago. Certain things make us Shawnee, and these will never change. Tecumseh hopped back and forth. Frosted grass crunched beneath his feet. His breath came in short, anxious bursts, visible in the breaking light. His father, draped in heavy bearskin, stood with arms crossed, a switch in hand. Ice lined the bank, and the river current slogged against the freeze. He was oldest by minutes, and he was first to feel his father's switch against his back. The pain was brief, but amplified by the cold. It stung worse than it should have. But he did not wait. He bolted for the water. When his feet hit, he sunk past his ankles through the slush. He plunged on and soon was waist deep, breaking up the ice with his knees. The frigid slash of the water against his chest emptied his mind and strangled his breath in his throat. The hope was that the Powaka token would find him as a kind of sign. The token would be a clue for what his life would be after this. Though he knew that at the bottom of the river lived the great horned snake, he was not afraid. Half the stories about drownings and deathly tides were just tales the older boys made up to frighten children, or so he told himself. He set his teeth and folded his hands above his head and dove. Underwater was silence. He could see nothing in the darkness. He stretched out his hands to the river bottom, warm and slick. He grabbed 2 fistfuls of muck and then kicked hard toward the surface. Breaching, he saw the current had carried him downstream. He struggled against it, fists clenched, kicking, and swam back to shore, the jumpy silhouettes of his brothers guiding him in. On the riverbank again, he collapsed and coughed up water. His father draped a blanket over him, but still he could not keep his teeth from chattering. His father knelt and brushed ice slivers from his eyebrows and ran fingers through his straight dark hair, shaking out the water so it would not harden. "Show me what you brought up from the river bottom," his father said. Tecumseh felt his breath draw even. He felt the ground beneath him and the flat white sky above, the cold in his limbs and eyes. All were one. He didn't know where his body ended and the sky began. He didn't think he could unpeel his frozen arms from where he kept them clutched at his side for warmth. But he produced 2 trembling fists. His father uncurled the fingers one by one, and Tecumseh watched closely because the fingers did not feel like his own. His right hand held only river crud, but opening his left revealed a marbled stone, small and square. It radiated heat. He felt its warmth spread from his fingertips past his wrist and up his arm. "Quartz," his father said. The mineral's warmth spread as far as his shoulder. His arm tingled and throbbed as feeling returned. He held the quartz to his eye. The stone revealed many colors, blurs of deep red, swirled with a color of yellow deeper than the corn at harvest. White flecks sparkled in the sunlight now pouring through the empty trees. The longer he examined the stone, the more colors he saw, and they seemed to shift or trade places with one another. First more red than yellow, then so much yellow he thought it would run from the edges of the stone and soak the earth. "This is your Powaka token," his father said. "Keep it close, it will protect you." But the second brother, Rattle, believed in the great horned snake that lived at the bottom of the river. He refused to jump. Even when his father hit him with a switch, and then again, he whimpered and shook his head and rubbed his eyes with his fists. He said the snake was waiting for him. He said the snake would pull him under and he would drown. "Where's your pride, your self-respect?" Their father was furious. "How will you ever take my place as war chief?" The switch fell again and again. Its sound was crisp as a shot on the frozen river. Tecumseh flinched each time, wishing his brother would get on with it. Finally, Rattle stumbled knock-kneed toward the water, hands outstretched as if groping against the dark. His eyes were shut, and his fleshy mass quivered, mottled by the cold, his back inflamed by lashes. The fat rolls above his knees smacked together with a kind of wet, mucking sound. He hit the water. He hurled himself into it, but he hadn't forged deep enough. Instead, he tumbled in the shallow current, breaking up the slush. On his knees now, he tried to plunge his head below water. Then he rolled onto his back to cover himself as bits of river bottom, the green oily tendrils of fungus and mire, clung to his arms and back and buttocks. He splashed and thrashed like a netted fish. "Go deeper," Tecumseh called, feeling shame for and because of him. "You haven't gone deep enough." The rattle was no kind of swimmer. Their father took 2 steps into the water and hauled him onto shore. The boy wept and shivered. He coughed and sputtered on his knees, cupping his private parts, the sad mass of him shaking. "Show me your hands," their father said. Rattle opened his hands, and there was nothing inside them, not even mud. His father put his foot against the boy's flank and kicked him. He groaned and flipped onto his back, but he did not rise. He only lay there weeping as their father snapped his fingers and motioned for the 3rd brother to enter the water. Open Door did not need a switch. Before their father could strike, he walked calmly out into the river. Once he was waist deep, he paused to look back at them. He turned toward his reflection in the broken pieces of ice and then looked back at them again. "Is this me?" His arms hung at his sides. "Is this really me?" Tecumseh knew his brother imagined he was like all the other boys. But their mother had said that in her womb she knew there was a difference among them, that 2 had moved together while isolating the 3rd, how Tecumseh had come first, then Rattle, bawling, and finally Open Door, small and squirming and silent, his skin so blue they could almost see through him. They had to pinch his toes to make him cry. Even then the sound was pitiful, weaker than a mewing kitten. "Put your hands in the water," their father told him. But Open Door was weeping now, chin quivering, round tears rolled down his face. "Is this me?" he asked again. "Can this really be me?" He had never seen himself before, and now he faced his reflection in the ice. Tecumseh knew what the ice revealed. A long, narrow head, his forehead too broad, his left eye hanging below his right. A clot of spittle clung to the corner of his lip. The river revealed everyone for who they were. Tecumseh knew this. It was the power of the great horned snake. Some considered it evil, but also it had given the blackest, most potent medicines to the shamans. The river reminded the boy that there was evil in the world, and there always would be. He could either learn to live with it and try to control it, or placate it with offerings. Many things in life were not strictly good or bad, and the river was one. Thank you very much.